Pope Leo XIV and tech, SoundCloud and AI, and Grand Theft Auto. This is MacVoices. This edition of MacVoices is supported by Insta360 and their new Insta360 X5 flagship camera. Visit store.insta360.com and use the promo code MacVoices to get a free invisible 114cm selfie stick worth $24.99 with a standard package purchase. Limit first 30 standard package purchases only. Hey, Marty, what is more dangerous than talking about politics on this show?
Talking about religion.
There you go. There you go. Thank you. Thank you for that. I could not do this because the two articles, the first one I'm throwing in says that Pope Leo signals, oh wait, that's not the right one. Sorry. A newly elected Pope wears Apple Watch on his first official mass. This is from 9 to 5 Mac, and yeah, okay, so he was wearing an Apple Watch. I do want to point out, and I'm sorry, 9 to 5 Mac, but I can't help it. If you look at the URL for that particular article, there was a typo in it when they first put it out. They couldn't change the URL, but they did change it. But it was that he wore the Apple Watch in his first mess.
Oh. Okay, they could have fixed that.
Well, they could have, but they'd have probably lost some of it.
No, you just do a
redirect.
A redirect.
Oh, yeah, you'd have done that. But I'm glad they didn't, because I kind of liked it.
That is pretty funny.
Yeah. Whoops. But this was the one that I think was more interesting. And this one is that Pope Leo signals he will closely follow Francis and says AI represents a challenge for humanity. And apparently he took the name Leo because another Pope Leo, back at the beginning of the industrial age, must have focused on the challenges that was taking away from humanity and how it was changing society. And sorry, I forgot chat room. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Need to throw that in. I thought this was just intriguing that technology has spilled that much into religion, but also does that indicate that the church is going to push back on this, sort of the way that, if I understand the history correctly, the church pushed back then on the changes for what was then their technology? And I do not want to offend anybody here. This is strictly an intellectual question, as far as I'm concerned. So if you're not comfortable, then please do not participate or tell me you're not comfortable.
Chuck, oh, go ahead, Marty. You'll be smarter than I am, so go for it.
No, I don't think I will. I think he's, in the second article, just simply drawing the parallels. It makes sense to me that the Pope wears an Apple Watch. If God is the master designer, he obviously uses a Mac. And if he uses a Mac, then he has an iPhone and he probably has an Apple Watch. So he's just following the history of a doctrine within the church.
I haven't seen Jim laugh that hard in a long time. That was good, Jim. I think back, though, to last week when we were talking about AI and Duolingo, and can it teach you a language? And, where's the line going to be between what people are better at versus machines? Or who can be replaced or who can't be replaced? Or what functions can be replaced? So just interesting, to your point, Marty, that he drew these parallels at this particular time, as we're having some of these discussions.
Everything that changes puts humanity, is a challenge for humanity. So I think you can read too much into the way the story's written and what they're attempting to say.
Fair point. Jeff, you were going to comment.
All right. So just to be clear, I am not Catholic. I am not religious, excuse me, at all. So that may very well temper my perspective on this. So my take is that where the new pope is ultimately going with this is we need to have the discussions about how do you ethically and appropriately integrate AI tools into society, and that includes how do you do this in a way that that treats the people that are creating content fairly. And it's a lot of it's a big bucket of question that that is going to be worked through over time. What I find interesting, like on a kind of meta level for me about this, is that the Catholic Church for a long time was one of the driving forces behind technological and scientific advancement. And so with that in their history, it doesn't surprise me that a forward-thinking pope would be looking at where technology is today and how that's going to be impacting people. And if it takes a religious leader to really get these conversations to move forward in a positive and productive way, okay, fine, let the Pope do it. And what Apple Watch or what watch does he wear? Of course, Marty clearly knows technology and religion, so there you go. A Pope with an Apple Watch. I hear it would be a sin to wear anything else.
How long did it take you to come up with that line, Jeff?
I just pulled it right out.
Just pulled it right out. Eric? Eric's recovering.
Yeah, sorry. So I wanting to be careful about AI doesn't necessarily mean you're against it. It just means that it can take you in directions that maybe either give you less control or removes respect for groups that you want to protect. So whether it is replacing all of the artists because you can just ask an AI to generate some image and therefore you don't ask another human to do the work for you, might be an example, or saying, oh, we can just do an AI. There's no reason to have somebody interpreting whatever the meaning of life is up in front of everybody. We'll just build an AI and you can carry it around in your phone and you ask questions, and that might not be a direction you want to go in.
Eric, you reminded me that for several months last year, Guy Kawasaki on his Remarkable People podcast would express the opinion, and as Guy does, because he always speaks in hyperbole, that he thought that AI was proof of the existence of God. And the logic seemed to be that if we could create it, then that implied that we had divine assistance to create something else that loosely qualifies as AI, or at least we're on that track. So I throw that out just as an interesting point that I'd completely forgotten about. But somehow it sort of fits in with this discussion.
God doesn't check his references?
Yeah.
What's that?
Isn't what Guy said sort of like saying, well, the pyramids exist, therefore that's proof of aliens because there's no way we could have done that on our own?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, again, you have to I know you're familiar with Guy's work and the way that he presents things, and so there's a certain amount of tongue in cheek there.
Oh, of course.
But yeah, it's interesting. I don't know. I mean, I would love to have Pope Leo on the show and have him debate this or discuss this with us. So if anybody has any connections,
Good luck with that.
Yeah, well, if
He's
you
a
don't
Sox
ask, you don't
fan.
get.
Maybe you could get his brother.
Yeah, his brother would be good. I'd go for that.
His brother seems pretty talkative.
Well, now wait a minute here. We've got a bunch of Chicago people here on this podcast. Somebody has to have a connection.
Yeah, because Chicago's a small town.
Oh
Well.
yeah, real small.
Yeah,
I
but
know.
Chicago and baseball. I mean, come on. Yeah, there you go.
I mean, all I've been hearing about lately is about the Pope, and that's great. I mean, the city should
Hey,
be excited about the fact that he's here, that he was born here, and I understand that. But when you see the memes, every other post on social media, including the Leo Italian beef and all the other fun stuff. I mean, it's just been interesting to say the least.
This brings us back to our pre-show discussion because the Pope's a Sox fan.
Right. Because everybody had to dig up the video from 2005 when the White Sox won the World Series, that he was in the stands at the game,
Well, they also asked his brother and
and his brother too.
Like,
Yeah, they got confirmation from his brother who lives on the south suburbs.
Oh man.
You haven't been hearing all this stuff because that's all been in the news here.
Yeah, you're right. Today's MacVoices is supported by Insta360 and their new Insta360 X5 flagship camera. Visit store.insta360 and use the promo code MacVoices to get a free invisible 114 centimeter selfie stick worth $24.99 with a standard package purchase. Limit first 30 standard package purchases only. When it comes to creating video content, time is money and you don't have enough of either. That's why you need the new Insta360 X5, the ultimate tool for content creators who want to do more in less time. Whether you're filming in the field, documenting a project, or capturing assets for marketing, the X5's 8K 360-degree video and industry-leading stabilization lets you get the perfect shot once and reframe it later in any direction. That means fewer retakes, faster edits, and complete creative flexibility. No camera crew or drones required. You can even live stream in 4K or record professional quality audio with its upgraded mic array and wireless mic support. Perfect for vlogs, interviews, or remote team check-ins. And with waterproofing up to 10 meters, it's ready for whatever your day throws at you. The X5 isn't just about stunning visuals, it's about reclaiming your time and maximizing your output. Visit store.insta360.com and use the promo code MacVoices to get a free 114 centimeter invisible selfie stick valued at $24.99 with your standard X5 package. Limited to the first 30 redemptions, so don't wait. Thanks to Insta360 for their support of MacVoices. This is more of a PSA than anything, but if you are publishing anything to SoundCloud, there seems to be some disagreement or debate based on this TechCrunch article. SoundCloud changes policies to allow AI training on user content. Now, if you go to scroll down on the article, Spotify did respond, and they kind of pushed back on the idea that the reason they changed their terms of service was more for them to interact internally with AI so that they could better understand their content that their users are giving it and do more with it, again, internally for the service. That's the way I read it. But then when I read the terms of service, it's like, I'm not so sure that's really very clear on that. And what was so coincidental is that just this week, not because of this article, I'm quick to say, just this week I've swapped my SoundCloud ID and preferences and all a bit so that I'll be publishing under a new name because there's just not getting the engagement that I've been looking for on SoundCloud. So I'm going to do it a little bit differently. But this is one of those things that after the fact, they're changing their terms of service, and that bothers me. And Jeff, I know you've had a number of strong feelings about this, and I'm curious to see, because SoundCloud is not the written word. SoundCloud is music and audio.
Mm-hmm.
Does it make a difference?
Well, yes. Well, okay. For the people who are impacted by this, yes, of course it makes a difference. But as far as whether or not you are using someone else's content to train your models without reasonable authorization and depending on what the content is, compensation, okay, that's a problem. And when this first came up, it's been like a year ago, when they first started talking about how they were going to be training content for AI, training AI with the content that they had available through SoundCloud. Regardless of their intent for the way they're using it, I had a problem with that, because they were not going to be compensating the content creators for the use. And even if they're saying, hey, we're just using this internally, okay, they're using it internally, and it's a tool that will allow them potentially to generate new revenue. They should be paying for licensing to use that content.
Okay. Marty, you want to throw in on this?
I think this is where AI is kind of stretching into, where businesses are stretching AI into some potentially unethical practices in terms of surfing individuals' content or sound in order to construct something that is different or better.
Dave?
Yeah, hard to say. Hard to say really how constructive is it really going to be. And I'm just seeing Pope Leo there. I know. It's just hard for me to say where it could go.
Eric, Brian, anybody, Jim, anybody else want to on this? I guess not. Okay. Again, it's one of those that just, if you are a creator and if you're on SoundCloud, take a good hard look at this and make some decisions of your own as to whether you want to continue to have your material there or not. One thing I did find really interesting, though, is, yes, obviously you can delete your posts if you have a track there or song or whatever. But they do not offer a bulk delete option at this point. And I had quite a fair amount of content on SoundCloud, like 2,000 shows. And I was not going to delete 2,000 shows. That just didn't make sense. And in order to keep those shows live, I have to pay for one of the pay for packages. So I just canceled the account. And that way they'll all go away and I can start fresh and decide how I'm going to move forward with it. But it felt like just a little bit of a gotcha. It's like, wait a minute, I can't take out just big chunks of my content. I'm going to have to go through and delete each one. So, for what it's worth.
That sounds like an intentional decision on their part.
Oh, agreed, Jeff. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I'd never looked at it before, and I was frankly a little disappointed that, they would, because that felt like you're stooping to something. But so when they asked me why I was leaving, one of my reasons was I can't bulk delete content. And this is just pure fun. I stumbled across this quite by accident on a podcast that Grand Theft Auto version 6 has been delayed until May 2026. Okay, a year delay. And I'm not a gamer. I have never played Grand Theft Auto, but they were describing this as like a cultural touchstone, that this was going to be a major thing. This apparently has been a reasonably decent shakeup in the gaming market because of this delay. And yet nobody heard about it except the gaming community. And yet Apple missed Siri and everybody's plowing on.
Yeah, well, it wasn't violent enough. The toddlers carrying 2x4s with nails through them just was, they had to retool that whole thing and figure out a way to make it more violent.
It was the physics for blood splatter, I'm sure.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Man. Brian?
Brutal.
Yeah.
Brian, help me.
Well, originally when this, before it was moved to May, it was going to come out in the fall of 25. And there was literally other games that weren't announcing their release dates in anticipation for not releasing it around this date of this game being released. So now that it's announced its date in May, you're starting to see more puzzle pieces fill in for this second half of the year with regards to games being released. But I was listening to a different podcast earlier in the week, and they were talking about even some films are even considering moving out of the way when this game is released, just because of all the time that people will dedicate to it. It's a pretty big deal. And they also said it might be one of the first games to be released that'll cost $100, whereas its previous iterations, followed suit of where most what they call AAA games were being released at. It was at a $50 price point, then a $60, $70, and so forth. But this will likely most people are saying that this will probably be released at $100.
But only because of the tariffs.
Yeah. It's just
right
amazing.
back to the beginning of the show.
Yeah.
As a software developer, I don't know anything about games. I am curious. Maybe answer this later. When did Grand Theft Auto 5 come out? But my one thought about this announcement is, really, a software company is announcing the specificity was released in 2013. Oh my gosh. What the heck have they been doing? So, I guess they stopped making them. So anyway, the specificity of saying we're going to release something a year from now, that's what they're saying. I was like, who are they kidding? This is a software project. Nobody knows when something's going to ship a year from now. That's crazy.
Yeah, I found it really interesting, though, that this is as important as this is. And Brian, you gave us a little better perspective, because if the studios are moving movie releases around, you would have thought that this would have been all over the tech web. And I like to think of myself as reasonably well informed, even though I'm not a gamer, but of any major events. And I didn't know anything about this until I stumbled across it. Don't feel bad. I didn't either. Yeah. So there you go. But yet Apple doesn't deliver something, and the stock price tanks, and all hell breaks loose. Everybody wants Tim Cook's head. So figure it out.
Now, wait a minute, Chuck. When did the stock price tank because of something to do with Apple Intelligence?
Depends on which time you're talking about.
Does tank mean it went down 3% for 1 day or something?
It's been going up and down so much.
But I don't.
It's way back up now.
Because
it kicked back up again.
Yeah, that was a tariff issue.
I don't think you can point China. At, they didn't ship Siri, therefore their stock price went down. I don't
not
think
as bad
so.
as the tariffs.
Yeah, not as bad as the tariffs. Hey, we're way over
Yeah.
time, and I want to thank everybody for hanging in there. Thank the chat room. Let's go around the room, let folks know where they can find you, and get out of here quick. So, Dave, we'll start with you. Thank you for being here and contributing to all of this. Where can folks find you?
You can find me at In Touch with iOS, intouchwithios.com, YouTube channel, youtube.com/intouchwithios. I'm here on Tuesday nights. I'm on the Mac Show on the British Tech Network on Fridays. And you can find me on Mastodon and Blue Sky at DaveG65. What a great show. Thanks, Chuck.
Thank you, Dave. Marty Jencius from the nation's capital. It looks like you're in a kitchen. I don't want to know.
Yeah, in one of these, stay for a week places.
Okay. All right.
Where they put us in. So.
All right. Where can folks find you?
I recognize that decor.
Yeah.
You can find me at Jencius, Jencius, at bluesky.com, also on Mastodon, same name. And with Eric on Monday nights with Vision Profiles and other projects that I do. You can find out about them, the podcasts and things that I'm involved in at thepodtalk.net.
Thank you, Marty. Thank you. I forgot to hold up the cloth. I'll do it next week. Brian Flanigan-Arthurs, where can folks connect with you?
Thank you, and thank you for having me. Best place to reach out to me is on my website, Brian, BRIAN, 8944.com.
Excellent. Thank you, sir. Thanks for being here.
Appreciate it.
Eric Bolden, you and your, what were they again?
Columbine.
Okay. You and your Columbines, where can folks find both of you?
Well, today it was out in the rain in Wisconsin, but if you don't want to sit in the rain, I can be found on Mastodon at EA Bolden at techhub.social and Mondays with Marty here on Tuesdays, and either listening or participating with In Touch with iOS with Dave.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
All of my OSs.
Yes, you do.
Eric wants all the OSs. Jim Ray, thank you for being here. Where can folks find you?
Well, you can find me Back to the Future. Just set your time machine to 2019 and go to San Jose and hunt around in front of the Mechanary Center. Mastodon did exist then, but I wasn't on it, so you will not be able to reach me at ProViewJim at techhub.social. But in the future, you might be able to reach me there.
That was confusing, but okay. Thanks for being here.
I got it.
Welcome to my world.
Yeah, right. Last but not least, the man who's on the bottom of my screen, but should be somewhere near the top. I don't know what that means. Jeff Gamet, thanks for being here. Where can folks find you?
Well, when I'm not working out the calculations for Jim's temporal mechanics, you can find me on the social medias as J Gamet, and I'm posting mostly now on Mastodon, PixelFed, and Blue Sky. Then for shows, here with you on Tuesday, so thank you for letting me join in, Chuck. Then Thursdays on Dave's In Touch with iOS. Then on the British Tech Network for the Big Show and the Mac Show. And Brian Chaffin and I do the Context Machine, and Patrice Brendamore and I do Retro Rewatch.
Thank you, Jeff, as always. Again, thank you to the chat room folks who, it looked like maybe some of you were having issues. You may have been coming and going, so I really appreciate the continued effort and definitely for sticking around this long because we went way late tonight. I'm Chuck Joyner. This is Mac Voices, youtube.com/MacVoices TV on Tuesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern. That's where you'll find us. You'll find us right back here next Tuesday night. We hope you'll join us. As always, thanks for watching. Visit MacVoices.com for show notes and to connect with Chuck on social media. Get involved in our Facebook group or like our Facebook page, and get more out of your Apple tech with Mac Voices Magazine, free on Flipboard and on the web. And if you find value in it all, consider supporting us through either our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/MacVoices or by making a one-time donation via the PayPal link on our front page and in the show notes of each episode. You will join these fine people who help bring you MacVoices. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media at backbeatmedia.com. Bandwidth provided by CashFly at cashfly.com.